Good. Okay. The I would suppose, every year I sort of have like general meditations about Purim that I like to think about every year. And then there are like some things like specific to this year, or to the specific Purim that I think about, and that I you can look at the same sources 100 times. I was looking at Torah Emes, going through that, and I've underlined a lot of things that I found interesting over the years. But then there was like something it looked like I never even like touched it, even though I've read it probably 5 times, but I didn't find it interesting, so I didn't even like circle it or anything. And then I was like, wow, this is amazing, because it popped out to me now. It didn't pop out to me before. It's in here. It's at the end, but we'll get there. So the story of Choni Hamagal is a very fascinating story about, they didn't have rain in Israel, so he drew a circle around himself and he prayed to God to make it rain, and eventually he forced God in a way to make it rain. Okay? Then there's the after story, which also, when I think of the story of Choni Hamagal, I never found so interesting. The after story is like, okay, whatever. But actually, when I was sitting at this table here with Isaac Schoenfeld, he told me this story. Isaac Schoenfeld's the guy who runs Cholent, and he said this part of the Gemara is why I make Cholent. Cholent is for like Hasidim who no longer are religious, ex-Hasidim. They get together every Thursday night to hang out together at Isaac Schoenfeld's party. Okay, and he told me, and he told me that this is why he does it. Okay, because of this Gemara. Okay, so this is the end of Choni Hamagal's life. I'm Rabbi Yochanan. You guys got it? Kol yamav osa tzadik. All that righteous man days, haya mitzdar al mikrazah. He was concerned about this pasuk. Shir hamalas b'shuv Hashem shivas Tzion han kechomim. A song of exaltation. I don't know what that means. When Hashem will return the captivity of Zion, we were like dreamers. Amar mi ikesh de na'im shivim shnin b'chalma. Is it possible for anyone to sleep for 70 years in one dream? Right, because
playing off of last week.
Yeah, right.
Where you left off, yeah.
Yeah, I guess it is. I never even thought about that either. There you go, right where I left off. Because this is talking about that when they came back to Zion, the second temple took 70 years. So what? They slept. They had a dream for 70 years. How's that possible? So Yom Echad. Hava Azal B'Orcha, he was going on the road. Chazilahu Gavr Dahav Nata Charuva. He saw a certain man planting a carob tree. Amar Lei, Hi Ad Kama Shnin Tayin. How many years does it take for the carob tree to have fruit? Amar Lei, Ad Shivin Shnin. It's 70 years. Amar Lei, Pshitalach Ta Chayisa Shivin Shnin. It's clear to you that you will live another 70 years. Amar Lei, he asked, is it clear to you that you will live another 70 years? Why are you planting this? Amar Lei, Hi Gavra Alma Churva Ashkachate. This man found a world containing. We have carob trees everywhere. Ki hechi de shasli le'avasai. Just as my ancestors planted for me, shasli nam livrai. I'm going to also plant for my kids too. Okay, that's a nice way of looking at things. It's not for himself. It's for his descendants, for the world. Yasiv karich rifta. Choni sat down, ate bread. Asale shenasa, and in drowsiness, sleep fell upon him. Nim. He fell asleep. An outcropping of rock rose around him as he slept, so he kind of turned into a cave. Akasam Einan became hidden from sight. And he slept for 70 years. Wow.
Rip Van Winkle.
Yeah. Rip Van Choni. Yeah. Also a scary thing to think about, like when you want something, you really want to figure it out, and then it happens. No one really wants that to happen. You don't really want to know. You don't want to really sleep for 70 years, even though you want it to know. I don't know. He arose. He saw someone picking the fruit of a carob tree. Are you indeed the man who planted this tree? The guy said to Choni, I'm his grandson. I must have slept for 70 years. It happened. He saw that his mare had given birth to generations of offspring. Right? He saw his horse had many offspring. He went to his house. Amar lahu. He said to the members of his household, Okay, is the son of Choni Choni Hamagal still alive? This is right. He went home and he asked, is my son alive? Amrule Brei Leisa, his son is not alive. Brei Isa, his grandson is alive. Amrulu Ana Choni Hamagal. He said, I am Choni Hamagal. Lo hem nihu. They didn't believe him. Right, because they thought he was dead for 7 years, so they couldn't believe it was him. Azal Beis HaMedrash, so he couldn't convince them. He went to the Beis HaMedrash. Nehirin Shmainu L'Rabban Tamra. He heard rabbis teaching. Nehirin Shmaitzin Kivish Nechoni Hamagal. Our teachings are as clear to us now as they used to be in the years of Choni Hamagal. We're learning so stark. We're learning so well. It's like the times of Choni Hamagal. So he was like, oh, nice. That was me. Right? Whenever he would come to house study, whatever difficulties the rabbis had with the teaching they were studying, he would resolve for them. Right? So the rabbi said, wow, he's great because he used to solve all the problems in our Gemaras and everything we were learning. And they were praising Choni Hamagal. So Amar Choni said to them, Ana nihu. Guess what? It's me. Lo him knew. They did not believe that it was him. He's been dead for 70 years. Lo abdile yikred midbayile, and they therefore did not accord him the honor due to him. Chalash daite. So what? He got depressed. Bayirachme, he prayed for divine mercy, meaning he prayed to die, umis, and he died. Amarava hain lamri inshe. This is what people say. O chavrusa, o misusa, either friendship or death. So Isaac Schoenfeld said to me, you see, he was like, first of all, he was a big tzaddik that he could tell God to do what he wanted to do, and he would listen to him. He could go to the Beis Medrash and answer everyone's question. But he had no social context with anyone. He had no social. He couldn't find a friend in the world. And in that situation, if you have everything else, you could do almost anything. Without that, omisusa, he'd rather die. And that's what he prayed for, and that's what happened. So that's why Isaac Schoenfeld told me, these Hasidim, okay, they're not Hasidim anymore. But they're also not like regular people, because they grew up like Hasidim. They have no social context anywhere. They're going to die. So I put this thing together once a week so they can get together and have a place to give them life. Okay? It's so beautiful, right?
It's amazing.
Right. So he said to me, "Oh, chavrusa misu said, mamish. It's not just like, it's bad if you don't have chavrusa. Actually, when I heard this, I heard it with a learning partner. So, but he was saying, no, the pshat of the Gemara is you need someone, a friend, anyone in the world. Without that, it's omisusa. And actually, there was this great New York article in '09. I was going to bring it in, but I didn't have time. And it's about solitary confinement, actually. And there's this whole. Did you ever read it?
I remember you telling me about it.
Yeah, wow. It was very intense. And it interviews John McCain, and in Vietnam they tortured him, they broke his legs and everything. And they interviewed him. They said, "What was the worst part?" And he said, "The worst part, more than any of the torturing, more than anything, was when they put me alone in a room for an extended period of time. That was much worse than anything else that they did to me." And he said, and then he quotes. Then he said, I was strong enough, I could withstand it and come out alive. He said he had friends, who went through the same thing, and they were damaged forever from that. They couldn't get back to a normal life from that, from the isolation, from the lack of any friends really, or anyone to talk to. So it turns out, if you go to the next page, it's so heavy. L'chaim, little chiyus, L'chaim. It turns out that, according to one of the midrashim that Rav Meir, I tweeted this once, that Rav Meir said, 2 months ago, he said that actually what brought death at Bichlal into the world was this issue. Okay? So if you look in the brackets, what was
No.
Oh, your girdle?
My girdle. Yeah.
Can I put something in there?
No.
Okay. All right. Medrash Omeid with Savech. You see, this is from Rav Meir a couple of weeks ago. Probably 2 months ago almost. Medrash Omeid with Savech Darsheni. The Medrash screams out and says, "Explain this to me." The nation Kudas Harav. So Rav Meir says, and this is part of a longer piece, but this is what we're focusing on. There's something called Kudas Harav. There's something called having a Rav, a teacher, a guru, whatever. Nekudas hachaver, and having a friend. The nekudas atzma, and having oneself. And all these three things are necessary, okay, for like a normal life. Adam Harishon, Haisa lo rak nekudas harav. So Adam Harishon, he had the nekuda of the teacher. He had a teacher. How? It says the Sefer Yetzirah in his Perish Sefer. Adam Harishon hayalo malach asher hayalo medema. Adam Harishon, according to the Ravid's Perish Sefer Yetzirah, had a malach who taught him Torah. So Adam Harishon, he had his Rebbe. The nekudas atzmo, he had himself. He didn't have this concept of a friend. He didn't have another person to be friends with. And this is what caused him to eat from Eitz Hadas. And if he had a friend, he never would have sinned. And what brought his own death eventually and brought death to the world? What was Adam Rishon, was what he did by eating from the tree. And the root cause, according to Rav Meyer's explanation of this medrash, is the lacking having a relationship with someone.
The obvious question is about Chava.
Yeah, so Rachel, when I tweeted that, Rachel said to me, "Come on, what about the wife?" You know, so I said, when I read this, I thought the same question.
Yeah.
I thought 100%. Isn't that good enough? So,
I mean, that was the whole purpose of Chava's career.
Yeah, to be Ezer Kenegdo. So I had the same question. So from what he's saying here, I don't know. I didn't have a chance to ask him. I should give him a call and ask him. But what he's saying is that she is also Nekudas Atzmo. She's a part of himself because she was created from him.
Yeah.
So he, in a way, like he needed something that was like outside of himself. Right. Okay, that's what I tweeted back. I think sort of it makes sense.
I think you're right.
Yeah. According to that, so this is like a tremendous issue. We see from the times back in Adam Rishon, the way the world works, and you know, every year Amalek gets like a bad rep for doing something else bad. So the bad rep he's getting this year is this. Okay, is causing separation between people, is causing loneliness to descend into the world. How is that? So go to the next page. Zachor asher asa lecha Amalek. Remember what Amalek did to you when you left Egypt. That they happened upon you. For our purpose, we're going to say they cooled you off. And they killed among you all the weaklings at your rear. When you were faint and exhausted. So for Asher Korcha B'derech, when you go with it, he cooled you off on the way out. And you know, the parish of Rashin is that he cooled you off, that you know, we're on fire for Hashem after we left, and then he cooled us off. So we're going to see from the more of Hashem, she explains that the cooling off differently. But then look at Rashi, that he beat all the weaklings at the rear. Chasri Koach, those lacking injuries, Machmas Chetem, because they're Simshiyat Anan Poltan, the cloud ejected them from its protection of the Israelite camp. So we're going to see from Nasan that the Haman is his whole thing is to get the people who are like outside the camp, the people who are like alone and not feeling part of the group and have no social context, and who have lost this relationship. I suppose the reason that I was thinking about this a little bit more now than I was ever before, really, I think because we're sort of at that age group where we're no longer kind of stuck in a social context. Because when you're kind of in school, you're in one. And when you're out of school, you're no longer in one. And then like when you're out of school, you're still in the same one as you were when you were in school. And then a couple years out, you have like a way to reflect and see like, wow, okay, I'm friends with this guy still. I'm not friends with this guy anymore. And I see those two friends over there, and they loved each other so much. And now like, what happened to them? They're not friends anymore. It's terrible, you know? So like putting all that together made me think about this a little bit more. Okay, I don't know. Does anyone else have that sentiment these days?
I'm with you 100%. I was talking to my mom last night. I was like, I don't know where my group is anymore. I'm so lucky to have a group here, and just to have people here. Like, this is a great group. But like, honestly, like, I just look around and like there is no groups anymore, and it's not like everybody's like doing their own thing. And
there you go.
You know, because that's the way it should be. You know?
Yeah. Is that right?
Yeah.
Should we be talking about this now?
What do you mean?
Meaning, like, is this appropriate? Yeah. You know, or like, am I jumping the gun? I should be waiting until I'm 40 years old. You know? I don't know. I'm not sure.
When you said that you only thought about it now, I thought you meant like as a father.
Oh. No, well, babies, you know, that's easy because like they need people so much. I can't tell you. You know? They're really like, and that was also in the New Yorker article about that, like how babies not raised with any like, you know, social whatever, like they basically like the brains disintegrate and they can't function at all. Like their IQs are lower, like to do math. But you'd think like, what's the relationship with you know, having a social context and being able to do math? Like to me, there'd be none. But to the way we're built, that's just part of our, it's part of how we are as a human being in total. That we're lacking something intensely if we're missing that, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So in the more of a shemesh, I need like someone to tell me, you know, because I don't know if I'm right. Maybe I'm looking at this in the wrong way. Okay. Yeah.
We'll tell you if you're wildly.
Tell me. I need to know. That. Yeah.
Like, no, I'm just not buying it.
Yeah. So the more of a shemesh is Talmud of Nolan Mach. So that's like pretty good. You know, it's not bad. I went to YU. Anyway. All right. The more of a shemesh is this whole thing. I never saw this before until this year. That he cooled you off. I always thought it was about this thing that he cooled you off relationship with Hashem and doing mitzvahs. That you want to do mitzvahs with so much starkness and love and life. That he cooled you off and said relax. So he says, Rashi asher korcha baderach shu lashon krius cooling off mashal ambati rutachas da v'reinu hanal hainu lashon krius shekiba ha'esh avasam v'kiru osa. That Amalek, he's saying, he cools off the love that the Jews have for each other. Shayu mitchil b'chamimus. The first, you know, they're like in this warm love. Vislavus lahav zeh, they really love each other. But Amalek haviyam, it's like when you first meet a girl, or also, you know, first when you meet them, it's like very strong, and then Amalek comes, and it's like relax. It's not as good as you really thought it was.
So Amalek is like apathy, like.
Right, but he's saying apathy in the context of a relationship.
So it's like dissension.
Right, which is It's what? What did you say?
It's like, I mean, it's not dissension, but it's like
cause of dissension.
It's whatever the cause of dissension is.
Yeah. Exactly.
Just chill. Don't get too excited.
Yeah.
What do you say?
Right.
It's
yeah.
I thought you were saying.
Yeah.
Oh no, not you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just chill, right?
Just chill, but chill out. Right, but
it also
but it's that thing.
Instead of seeing what you want. It's like you're seeing something in the other person that makes you not want to have a relationship with them.
Mm-hmm.
Right? That's what...
Yeah. That's right. It making you focus on those bad things about
right.
this other person. It's like, ugh, I don't want anything to do with you. And a lot of times also when you're in that vibe of like, when you like someone you love and then you're like, ugh, I don't want to be with anyone right now. You know, I just want to like bottle myself up and not talk to anyone.
Yeah.
You know, so that's, I'm like...
I was thinking just this week.
Yeah.
Are my closest friends people who I have the same opinions as?
Are they?
Well, no, because some people think favoring a tweet is a terrible thing, and I think it's fine.
I even think it's a good thing.
I think it's great. I think it's like it's like a private recognition. It's more like it's good.
Yeah, I'm with you.
And also, if you retweet something, it's like
it's annoying.
You're afraid of bothering people.
Yeah.
Like, yes, I like this.
But
you should too.
You only faved it. Like it wasn't enough to.
Also, so that's how they look at it. Oh, so yeah.
But if your people
it depends what you're
are their
for.
people,
Are you in it for followers or what?
Yeah. If your people are their people, then what's the purpose of retweeting?
Yeah, exactly. They're just going to see it again.
Yeah.
Whatever. So no, people who I'm closest with don't necessarily share the same exact opinions as me, which is, I think, that's vital for any of us. Like healthy social, you know.
Right. And doesn't it feel like really annoying when you see a clique of people that seem like they're all the same? You know? It's always like, ugh, them, you know? I don't know.
It's homogenized. It's everybody.
There's something about that that's annoying.
Subscribes to the same thing. And there's no...
Yeah. Right. So Malek's coming, as he says, "V'tzinanas ava samilahov zetze." He cools off the love that people have with one another. Okay. So that's more of a shemesh. That's going on Asher Korcha. And now this is from Reb Nassim going on the Nechashalim, the people who are outside the camp. Is it okay, David? You good?
Yeah, it's great.
Then again, is our
What?
Let's learn.
What?
Then again, like,
Yeah.
Well, why is Twitter a social context? Even though it is, obviously.
Right. Yeah.
You hear what I'm saying? The example that I'm giving is
in social media.
Is in a limited social reality.
Yeah.
Not that it's limited, but by design.
Yeah. I guess I was also thinking.
You hear what I'm saying? Yeah.
Yeah.
What are you saying?
It's like if my example is about having the opinion of people not in face-to-face interaction, but in like limited statements within 140 characters. That's not a dialogue. Then that's like a let's learn. That's all I was saying about like defining your social context as
right, and putting it only into that
conversation and putting it to that, whatever.
Yeah, it goes to show you the how much like we need it.
Yeah,
right.
Because I was reading it. Yeah,
we all crave it.
Yeah,
like I'm not mentioning it.
Right, exactly. Yeah. Right, but the thing is like, it's almost like people don't realize like how much like you need that.
It's dopamine.
Yeah. You know, and I was reading that people spend more time on social media than watching TV or really like doing much other things. Why is that?
Do you think social media?
It's because you need it.
Yeah.
You need it so bad.
Well, it's tapping into the same thing that makes a kid not learn math. Like there's that social element, and you're right. It's like a very weak, like light version of it, but it's tapping into the same like powerful force.
Right.
Yeah. What were you gonna say?
I mean, whatever. I don't want to ask language. I think there's like something I would call like a social currency. Like we exchange things socially, body language or status or relationships, etc. Like all within this like framework, and in a similar way that we exchange money. You know? We give people things, we take things, we exchange things, and like social media has opened up this whole new universe of like exchange, social exchange.
It's commodified it.
Right, and it's commodified it, and it's made it into a business.
I have this many friends. Yeah.
Right,
yeah.
Which is
right.
Cloud, anyone?
Right.
We love living in the cloud.
No cloud.
No clouds.
Oh.
What's your cloud score?
Cloud, yes. I've looked at that a couple times. Yeah. Okay. So like the New Yorker gave like kind of like the biological evolutionary, reason for it. So Reb Nosson gives more of this psycho-spiritual reason for it, if you will.
As they both want to do.
Exactly. They both love doing that. So Reb Nosson says on the next page, look at the halachos. Okay, so and this relates to what we do. Why we give machatzis a shekel. Why like the introduction sort of to this time is machatzis a shekel. Before Rosh Chodesh, you have to read Parsha Shkalim. We did 2 days ago. You can't, Jewish people, you have to give half a shekel, not a whole shekel. Because to tell you that every yid, he needs his other yid. That we're not one by ourselves. We're only half. Because one yid by himself, he isn't one person. He's only half. His soul is only half. And he has no completion until he has a connection with a friend. What he's saying is like our souls are made up together. So if you're alone by yourself and not connecting with your friends, then actually you're missing a part of yourself. Your neshama. Like there's actually a part of you that's missing. Maybe that's why it's so depressing and why we need it so much, because we are not ourselves actually without it. Okay, now skip to the next side.
Define as a friend, like
I don't know.
It's interesting when you like
I don't know.
see someone you haven't seen in a long time, and that it's as if like a part of your personality reawakens.
Yeah.
I mean, it's kind of what he's saying. Like, it's not only you knowing yourself, but you knowing different elements of yourself.
Yeah. Maybe that's why we say Mechai Hamesim when we see a friend we haven't seen in 12 months.
Right. So it's both on that person and on you.
If you haven't seen a friend, you haven't seen... Yeah, exactly. Both of you.
Right.
Mesim. Because it's like you both were dead.
Yes.
Yeah.
Without each other.
I also saw this great Torah.
Well, that's the halacha. Wow. That's crazy. We should just stop here and go home. Yeah.
That's cool.
Yeah.
Why do we... So we say... So halfway through the month, right, at the Chatzi of the Chodesh, is when the moon is full. Right? So the Chatzi Shekel is saying, unless you understand yourself in context with another half, friend or whatever, then that light is limited, meaning when it's half and half, the moon is full and there's greater light. When it's just the first day of the month or the last day of the month, then it's not the full amount of light from the moon. So Chatzi.
What? Yeah, and that's like why we celebrate everything on that time.
Right.
Because that's the middle point.
Right.
The middle point is the connecting of both.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's also why the Sanhedrin was in a half circle.
Wow. Okay.
Because there's a shitfus between.
Wow.
Yeah,
that's between them and God, is that?
Them and God, yeah. So that's like
right.
Chaver.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. Which is also on the Kruvim.
Yeah.
The Kruvim is the friendship, right?
It is, 2 Na'ars or whatever.
Right. Hugging and kissing, yeah.
Right.
Mm.
But I think the wife is considered like the fundamental like unit of friendship. Like this is my you know, like
Ezer Kenegdo. It's your other half, that's right.
Right.
That's right.
So it's like this is the like highest form of friendship.
Yeah. Absolutely. The one caveat that I would say is that from the Medrash, it says that you need that in a sense like that was extremely important, but in a sense like it wasn't good enough. In a way, but also.
What do you mean it wasn't good enough?
What?
How's that not good enough?
Oh, I don't know. That was the way I understood Rav Meir.
It's part of Nekudas Atzmo.
It's because Nekudas Atzmo. There's a part that's part of you. That I guess
What?
Yeah.
It's 3 elements. You need Nekudas Harab, Nekudas Atzmo, and Nekudas Chaver.
Right.
So a wife is Nekudas Atzmo, and you need a Nekudas Harab, and then Nekudas Chaver is a different type of relationship.
All right, so it's different, but okay.
But yeah, it's for sure true that.
Yeah, 100%. And actually, like in all the Sfarim that I've read, is telling you that like that relationship teaches you how to be a friend with other people. You know, husband and wife. That is the central concept of a friend, and that teaches you how to be friends with other people. But having said all of that, is that like the takan of the Baal Shem Tov and all the Hasidim is that you have to get together with your friends on Friday night. You can't just stay home. I wanted to photocopy it. I want to photocopy. Talmud Rebbe said this like a couple of weeks ago. He said that like it's not like this idea of going to a Tisha on Friday night is not like a choice, and it's not good enough. He says beferish, it's not good enough. This idea to stay at home with your family, you have to go with the Hasidim. You know, like because you need that social element also. Okay. In order to fulfill these things. That's all.
You need the what?
You need the social element outside your direct family as well. In order to fulfill these things that we're talking about, at least according to what I've seen last week. You need both. You need both elements.
What does it mean, like in the Kuda? Like
I don't know.
What are we talking about? Like
which
you're saying, like that is talking about these 3 Nakudas, right? So what do you mean with that?
Saying that a person, Rav Meir was saying there's 3 types of relationships a person needs to have in order to be like whole.
Okay.
And one of them is having a guru. One of them is having
a rebbe,
one is having oneself.
Having a relationship with oneself.
Yes.
And having a relationship with the rebbe.
And having a relationship with a friend.
And that friend is unknown. We don't know what that factor is. We don't know.
It's both. What I'm saying is that it's both. You need a wife and you need a friend who's not.
Okay.
Who's, you know.
Okay.
Yeah.
And is that part of the like communal aspect, or is that a separate?
I think it's part of the communal with your friends. Yeah, absolutely.
It's different, you know, like being part of a community and having a friend is very different.
Yeah. I didn't also I didn't also. You're right. I didn't also photocopy another thing Rav Meir said, which was like, what if you have a problem before you do a mitzvah? According to that Rizal, you're supposed to say like b'shem kol Yisrael. You have to like say like I'm doing this mitzvah to be unified with all the Jewish people. So I think he quotes a Rizal. I'm not sure there's a Rizal, one of the students saying, what if you have a problem? I don't feel like I am one with the Jewish people like in this grandiose communal thing. So what are you supposed to do? So he says, think about a friend of yours. And like that'll get you there. So like the first step, the first step is the relationship that you have with your friends. Like that, and that'll get you to that bigger thing. Okay? Yeah.
Do it.
But I guess what I'm saying is like we have a problem with the first step. Because we're not going to get to that next step without fixing the first step. Okay.
First step being
your friend. The social aspect of your friends, yeah. Like, okay. If Zebachin Masha Amr, you see in the second brackets. Masha Amr was seen as Sh'al Yidei Shkalim Apilim Haman Amalek. So this is what we say, what Chazal said, that through the Shkalim, we destroy Amalek because Haman wanted to buy us from Achashverosh to kill us. So we give these shkalim, which kind of like preempts his shkalim. Then if you skip to the bottom bracket, because all Haman Amalek wants to do is keep us away from being unified, from being like unified in the holy way. As it says in the Psukim, that he went to get the people who are those people who are like alone. Those people who felt separated, that's where Haman wanted to get us. So what do? We give the shkalim. We give the shkalim to promote and to give us this sense and to remind us to become unified with each other. And that's how we defeat Haman Amalek. Okay?
It's like he says in Megillah, there's an that's
yes, and that's the next page.
What?
That's the next page. Check out the next page. Yeah. Yeah, I don't know why it came out so much this year. Up. It's notorious at this point. It's good. Yeah, we spoke about this pasuk for an hour last week. Yeah. He says, Haman said, there's a nation that's mefuzim mefurad. They're scattered and they're separated from one another in all the land. So so then so it comes out perfectly. So Haman in the beginning, what's he doing is shekarcha baderach. He's cooling the love between the Jewish people together. He's getting all the people who are outside the camp. Right? And this is how he's going to kill them. This is how he's going to destroy them. O chavruso misusa. And this is like the voice of Haman in the times later, which is Yesham echad mefuzim mefurad. And with that complaint, he can kill us. Right? With that force. That's how he's going to get us. Okay? So if you go to the next page, Sasemis has a lot on this also. You've seen the brackets. So okay, they're in Gullus and they're all over the place. But they can't get together, even though they might have their own communities or their own chevra, but they can't get together. And then in the next side, so there is there's a problem with our social aspect, the fact that we're in another land. But the main thing, Zera Amalek. Who are the children of Amalek? Shemafrid bin Advekim. They're the people who are trying to separate people who love each other, people who are connected with one another. Right? So it's that koch, it's that force that's driving the connection out and making our relationships deteriorate.
So Amalek or Haman is like the anti-friend.
Yeah.
It's the opposite. It's the oxy.
The
unfriender.
Totally. Yeah. It's like the
unfollower.
Yeah. It's just like,
right.
Because what he says is there is no friendship. There's no such thing as there's only numbers. There's only
I could buy you off with money.
Reduces everybody to a profile.
Yeah.
And to I'm sorry.
Exactly.
Into a social media, into a box that says your friend is who you are on the internet.
Yeah.
And he doesn't know how to relate to normal people in
the
real world. Okay.
100%.
I'm just throwing that into like modern day. Maybe I'm being provocative right now.
What I was about to say was basically, to me, it's anything, and that's what you're saying, is that creates a dissension, creates deterioration between friendships, and it's this way that we see each other because of social media, but it could also be like physical distance. It could be some sort of like spiritual distance. All those things. That's Haman Amalek for the purpose of the shir.
It's not just that he's like driving the force. It's that he's seizing on it. Like it's like there are people who are spread out. Like and then he's also drawing out on the like that's. It's almost like that's when they're vulnerable, and then Amalek comes.
Yeah. Well, that's when he can kill us.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's when he sees like the opportunity.
He thinks he could kill us. Right. And if you want to be like the New Yorker about it, you could say, and that's that desire to commit suicide, when you're Choni Amalgan and have no social context. That's Haman. That's from Haman.
Yeah. It is also.
What do you mean?
That Amalek is this, anti-life.
Right.
It's the same. Yeah, it's that if you don't have this social element, like, well, what's the point of it all? It's like nihilistic. It's like, I don't have anybody here. None of this other stuff matters.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. What's interesting is, like, you wouldn't necessarily think that you would need that.
You would need what?
The social element. It's like we almost I think we take it for granted so much. no one ever thought when they did the study in the New Yorker about solitary confinement that, like, if you had a TV and had reading material and had a pen and paper and could write letters once in a while, that the brain would shut down. You know, because in a way it's like, yeah, it's great. I'll just read my books in the thing. It's great, you know. But like, no. I think it's like we lack that appreciation of it a lot.
Do you think it's because, like, in an honest way, do you think it's because a human being needs a second opinion on life, or do you think it's because they need validation of their own opinion?
Well, I think it's the Rav Nosson thing.
Yeah.
Is that there's a part of us that's missing without it, and that unfortunately we take those parts for granted.
I don't think it's either validation or like disagreement. It's just the interaction. Like it could be either. It's just like bouncing things off and not living inside your own head.
Next thought is so Amalek attacks us when we're leaving Mitzrayim. Attacks the 12 tribes.
Yeah, Dan. Yeah,
Dan.
They're the guys who are out. That's
possibly they're tired just from their like friends. But also Haman thinks that he can destroy us, not in Nisan but in Adar, because Adar's the 12th month done, right?
Yeah.
So he assumes that this is the end of. If the Jewish people are ever going to end, it's going to be in their last month, the furthest away from their original Geula. Okay.
Yeah, that which is far.
Right.
Yeah. Removed from source, something like that.
Right.
Which is really the closest.
Exactly.
Well, because it's not from us. I mean, it's not our Yeshua doesn't come from us. It's from Hashem.
Right.
I mean, it's not mitzad atzmam that we were saved in the 12th month or the 12th tribe is.
Right. But so the next Sfas Emes is sort of like maybe it does come from us in a way.
Yeah, I guess it
that
also.
That what he's going to say in a second is that, like, in a certain way, like, there is no without us, like, there's no without the nation, there's no king.
Right.
So when he destroys us, when he separates us, then he's trying to destroy God as well.
Right.
So let's check this out.
Let's do it.
Yeah. So Mash Tiknubim, and what I wanted to say in the beginning also was that what made me sort of put together all this stuff was something I thought about, something Rafi said 2 weeks ago, which we'll get there, which I think trying to explains it more at length. But let's just do this last sentence. We don't find any other holidays this idea of giving shalach manos, giving food to your friend. Okay? The whole koch, the only way to destroy Amalek is when the Jewish people come together. That they got together, and they survived. That's what it says in the Megillah. Okay? Meaning that they survived only because they got together. The Medrash says, their gathering saves them from the grandson of Esav and his people, his generals. Perish, Kmo Shamar Chazal. Chazal say, Nishba Kadosh Baruch Hu, She'ein Shmo v'kiso shalim ad shemachzer Amalek. So the Medrash says, and Rashi quotes this on. If you look at the note on the bottom, Nun Gimel, Rei Rashi. I brought this in before also. Ki yada keska. It says in Beshalach after the first time Amalek attacked. Ki yada keska, that the hand of Amalek is on the throne of God. But you see, case is spelled without an aleph, and ka is spelled. That's God's name, but it's missing the vav and the hey. So Yadosh HaKadosh Baruch Hu Yishav B'chiso Lios L'Mecham V'Yimas Magolamis Umao Case Lo Nemar Kisei V'Av Shashem Nechlak L'Chetziav Nishba HaKadosh Baruch Hu She'en Shmo Shalem In Kiso Shalem. That God's name is not full and His throne is not full until Shimacha Shmo Shal Amalek Kula. Okay, that a part of God's name is missing when Amalek is in the world. So now go back up to Sfas Emes. Uvnei Yisrael Heim Shmo Yisbarach. We are God's name. We are the people who Mekadesh God's name in the world. So that means when Amalek is trying to separate us, that means God's name is separated. That means half of God's name is not there. When there's a Yid who's supposed to be friends with his friend and there's disconnection there.
There's Chassidim who leave their community and are disbanded.
Yeah.
Nowhere to go.
So that means God's name is like is cut in half. Yada Keska.
That's how it comes.
But the more that when Jews come together, Misrab Miskad Kvot Shema, then God's name is magnified and advanced. Kamosh Kasav Oz Elokim says, give strength to God. How do you give strength to God? So he says by coming together. So no one ever told me that if you go watch a Super Bowl with your friend, that's like, Kaddish Shem Shemayim. No one ever told me that. What?
Put that in the invite.
Exactly. Like if you come, just letting you know that you're bringing together Yud Kei Vav Kei, because every Yid is a letter of God's name. So that's what Haman's trying to do. He's trying to destroy God by separating us from one another, and being that moment of separation. Okay. Now,
I don't remember what it was specifically, but we definitely one time we were talking about stuff when I think like a year or two ago, whatever it was. But I remember saying it's like, where you said that it's like you give it to somebody, like I'm happy you're alive. Like,
right, because you give food.
I'm glad that you are like. It's not just like, oh, good to see you. It's like I'm glad that you're a living, breathing person who's in my life.
Which is why you give food, which is just all it does is make you alive. It just gives you like a moment's more of breath as the food. Yeah,
wait,
which is
what are you saying here?
Say it.
Well, do you remember what the source was?
Reb Shlomo.
Oh, okay, there you go. Yeah, there he is. It's only a pervert.
Yeah.
So, what was it exactly? You probably remember that.
That he says, why do you give Shalach Manos? Why do you give food? Why don't you give? It could be anything. Give a present, or you could give some Torah or something like that. Why do you have to give food? Because food is the most essential thing you need to live. Right? Without food, you'll die.
Right.
So
yeah.
So what you're saying to your friend is essentially I'm just glad that you're alive. And you give them some Shalach Manos. Oh. You're appreciating their existence. Right?
Does it have to be cooked also?
I don't know the halachas.
No, because then that says that answers the careers of Amalek.
Yeah, because it's varm.
It has to be a little cooked.
Yeah.
Sure, why not? Let's go with that.
Yeah, let's do that.
From now on, why not? Let's be cooked. No,
you can't give raw food or something like that. Whatever. All right.
Yeah. So then the next Sfas Emes, it's sort of rehashing this in a shorter way. Don't worry, it's short. You see, v'hamitzvah shtiknu chazat, Chris McGill, Manos, and that eventually the Sfas Emes ends up saying that every single mitzvah is about this. The Mishalach Manos is like the head, The Isa Knus Knus Bnei Min Yad Isa Lufav Kshish Achlip Yisrael Ein Yachol Osa Rasha Lishlot Banu. When we have Achlus, that Rasha cannot have anything on us. Rak Shechasar Achlus, we're missing this unification. Lachin Amar Shehem Mufuzim Reforad, as Haman says, like they're separate from one another. Yuchal Lishlot Bahem. That's when you can kill us. Esther Amar Lechnos. So Esther said, Lechnos Kol Yehudim. Get all the Yidden together. Lechinis Kaima Kinos, and then we got together. Kamosh Kasum Nikalu, that we got together. Ba'amod Al Nafsham. And that's how we survived. And because we got together and we became as one, and that's where the salvation took place. That's why the salvation took place. Okay? So the next page, okay? Now this is what's going to explain what Rafi said last week, okay? 2 weeks ago, whatever. So the next page goes on that this is the Bach. I'm not going to go inside. Basically, he writes about Shalach Manos this is what I was trying to say before, which was the main thing he calls Simchas Ha'adam im Oav V'Reav. The main mitzvah of Shalach Manos is to give to the people you love. Oav V'Reav, your friends and the people you love. Right? You might think people you don't know. It's a mitzvah to give them to, but like the greatest fulfillment of them are people that you love, that are your friends. Okay. So then, this is sort of the gateway to that kinus of that Yeshua of Purim. So this explains what Rafi said. Okay, 2 weeks ago. Go to the next page from the Jikover. Okay, so if you look on the left-hand side over there, this is a photocopy directly from Rafi's page, and he says this, and I was like, wait, is this what it's saying? Shalach Manos ish l're'ehu mispar. Okay, so Mishalach Manos ish l're'ehu, that is the same gematria as v'ne'eman ata l'chayos mesim. Right, you are faithful to revive the dead. Because when we're alone, we're dead. That's how Haman kills us, and that's that desire to die in the world comes from being alone, which is Haman. So when you give your friend a little Shalach Manos, you're giving him life. And you're showing him, as Reb Shlomo said, how important their life is to you, right? The fact that they're there. And then I saw on the side, if you look on the bottom right-hand side over here, the Jikaver also said manos. You guys see this? It's this one over there, manos. Va'al nitzal mishol tachtis. Manos is Rashi Tevos v'hitzalta nafshi mishol tachtis. He says, Rashi Tevos, you have saved my soul from the depths of hell.
Okay, sit down.
You know?
Just chill.
Right. Which is the... Block got me to get up.
That's so good.
Right. Which is what it's doing, because it's bringing us together and making us appreciate the friends that we have and fixing those relationships that have cooled off because of Haman and that have disintegrated and turned into something we never wanted to happen. Us, Shalach Manos, we're fixing that. And that is giving life. Wow.
Purim is when you should be sending the random text messages people haven't seen all year.
Yes.
Yes.
Exactly.
That's going to be part of our Suda.
Oh, yeah.
10 minutes, everyone. Text the last message you have in your inbox.
Trunk text?
Yeah, exactly.
Let Seth know.
Maybe not.
Wow, that is.
What?
Seth had that into the schedule.
Yes. So does that sort of explain what that meant?
Yeah.
It does, right?
For sure.
So that's what I was thinking about a little bit, since you said it. It's been shocking my brain.
Yeah.
Shock my brain. Yeah. Yeah. So,
Fish.
yeah. Okay.
What's... Okay.
Yeah, what?
No, I was just thinking of a fish song.
Yeah. What? Meat stick. Okay.
The number line. No, my friends.
Yeah. I love that song. Yeah.
Right there.
Weiter. So Gewalt. So when you give Shalach Manos, you accept Shalach Manos, do you... Now understand, V'yitzalta nishol nafshi V'yitzalta... Oy. Remember, this is the meditation of Shalach Manos. V'yitzalta nafshi mishol tachtis, you have saved my soul from the depths of hell. V'ne'emanat halachios mesim, you are faithful to revive the dead. That's Shalach Manos. Well. And I just brought on the next page. I'm not going to read it. Hitchemeyer, I never knew this. I saw he quotes from the Arizal that he said that Arizal never explained the mitzvah of Shalach Manos. He wouldn't explain it. And Rav Hitchemeyer explains why. He said because it is... Because it's self-explanatory. He said because it is so essential, it's like the whole Geula is dependent upon it. Right? Which is the Ne'emanat Halachios Mason.
The whole Geula is dependent on Shalach. I hear that.
He said which is our getting together. When we come together, we fix Sinas Cham, then we have the Geula.
Go at each other through food, through the Shalach Manos.
Yeah, exactly. And that's the redemption. Okay. So I want to show you this I want to show you this great Torah from Tifer Shlomo of Shlomo Radomsker. Which brings into the theme of this day, okay? So Tinasa and Li Nafshim Shel V'Kash. So Esther, when she goes in, 10 more minutes, that's it, okay? Right, Esther, so she knew that if she went into Achashverosh, she could be killed, right? But she went in to save her people, right? She knew she could have died to save her people. She went in anyway, right? That's pretty good. I'm going to try to go through this quick, but there's some amazing points in here. Wow. So we explained the idea of praying. Real praying, every single person has to pray for the good of his friend and to have moser nefesh for his friend. Okay, now I always read have mesiras nefesh to serve Hashem, have mesiras nefesh, to put on tefillin and have mesiras. He says you have to have mesiras nefesh for your friend. You have to think about him, to pray for him. This is what real davening is. Al derech Moshe. This is what Moshe, his main tefillah, v'im ayin mechinina misifracha. This is what Moshe said. And you know what? If not going to be for the Jewish people, I don't want to be here. And this is what David HaMelech said, Nafshi b'chapai tamid, my soul is my hand constantly. I have no idea what that has to do with anything. But Weitzer, if anyone knows, just let me know. No. I didn't have time to look it up. Nafshi b'chapai tamid, my soul is in my palm constantly. I didn't really look it up, but that's what the literal translation is. But the point is this idea of it is what he's saying, that what that really means is what Moshe said, V'im mecheninam sifracha. He said the real tzaddikim, this is what the Noel Melech would say all the time. The real tzaddik is praying for his friends, right? For his friend. That's what a real tzaddik is. וזה שאמרתינס לי בחינה זוס ליוס מדרגה הזו ליוס נפש נשתת נב עבור עמד וקשסי וכבר אמרנו פירש עניין שאנו עמד מקודש כסר. And this is, he says, what we say in Kedusha on every Shabbos. Misharsav shalim zel azeh. Right? So the pshat of that is that the angels ask one another, where is I mikom kvodo? It says perish. What does it mean? Misharsav shalim zel. What that means is that tzaddikim ahochim derech zel yos kol echad mitzapel liros b'tovas chavero. Tzaddikim, they're just asking about their friends. Shalim zel azeh. The tzaddikim want to know, like, is my friend okay? Right? So what's an angel? According to them, an angel, Misharsav, literally in the Kedusha saying the angels are asking one another. He said, what's an angel? Someone who's asking about his friend. That's like the biggest tzaddik. They're asking each other, like, how are they doing? They want to know.
The whole Nusach HaTfilah is in plural.
Yeah.
The entire Nusach HaTfilah.
The Malach also learns with Adam Rishon.
Yeah.
That's who he's asking.
Huh?
That's who he's asking about.
Yeah.
The people who ask about how their friends are doing, about to make sure that they're good. Well, yeah, those are the true angels. The people who ask to make sure their friends are okay. As it says, we say shoel, so he makes a chassidish play, shoel kol hana shelo. That he said the halacha is if you borrow something, like you get the hana from that object. So he says meaning meaning you're asking about your friend. So you really, all the benefit you get is from asking about your friend and making sure your friend is good. Okay, that's like his chassidish play on it. That you get so much hana from asking about your friend. And this is like a very important point that he's going to bring out. And any hana that you get, you want to give it anything good that you get. You're just constantly thinking. A real tzaddik is constantly thinking about how he could give it to his friend. So that God gave him something good, so you want to give it to your friend. That then we say afterwards, from his place he comes rachamim. And this type of tzaddik, this type of yid, this brings great, abundant mercy from above. Those who ask about their friends. So this is what the Gemara says. These two Amoraim, it says in the Gemara on Purim, they would give each other sudas, and they'd be yotzei shalach manas that way. So he says, what does that really mean? What does it mean they have these great sudas and they gave it to their friend? He says, on Purim, the greatest hashpah, the greatest energy and blessing comes from above. And what did they want to do with that blessing and energy? They want to give it to their friend. And he says, this is shalach manos. You're saying that all the blessing and abundant mercy that I got on this day, I want to give it to my friend. This is the unification of Jewish people. This is what the mitzvah of Mishlach Manos and Matanas Adyonim is. You get this. It's like the real tzaddik in the highest level of connection is you get something awesome, you just want to give it to your friend. Okay, and that's what we do with Shalach Manos. That's what I'm saying with Shalach Manos. I really could spend the whole night on that, and that Torah itself is so good. So I brought in this Pachad Yitzchak, we're not going to say outside, that he says, I've said many times before that, like, and what I thought about and I still think about, we drink wine on Purim for like very deep Kabbalistic reasons. We said many times to give chiyus to the klipa, to the nitzos and the klipa, to understand the nature of good and evil in a deeper way than we normally do. So he brings here in this Pachad Yitzchak that the last sentence is Gedol Gima Shiras Halavavos. Why do we drink? To get closer so our hearts like unite. Because it breaks down the barriers between each other, so it promotes more achdus. That's why we drink. You know? Yeah. So now we're in Shlomo Shul, so we have to say,
Good Purim.
Good Purim.
Yeah, from the book Good Purim. Yeah. So he says Gavalt. If you love someone so much, if you really love someone, you're thinking about him constantly, even if he's not with you right now. This is what Mishalach Manos is. It's telling someone, I'm sending you my love. My thoughts. Even when he's not with you. Some people say the best way to give Shalach Manos is through someone else. Give it to someone else, and that person gives it to you. So Shlomo's saying that type of shalach manos is to tell that other person that, like, I'm thinking about you, even though I'm not with you right now. The Gemara Kasuv, it says in the Gemara, Esther is like hidden. Purim ze kasher taloret Hashem. Purim, you don't see God. Do you know how much God's thinking about you when He's not looking at you, when it seems like He's not there? Do we know why Hashem's name is not mentioned in Megillah? The Megillah is telling us how much Hashem loves us. Even though it's like He's not showing Himself at this moment, His name's not in the Megillah. It's like He's hiding. When you love someone, how much is He thinking about you? Even if He doesn't see you. Right? Even when you're not together with them, you're still like thinking about them. So that's the Megillah. It's like Hashem is like taking care of us so much. It's like, but He's not. We don't see Him. He's not there, but He's thinking about us so much. We get this His shalach manos from Him. The test of a Jew in Galus, who kama Hashem shechoshev aleinu, is thinking about Hashem, is thinking about us. Kama ana choshim al Hashem, and how much we're thinking about God. I feel lo krovim, even if it seems like we're not, together.
I like that.
Yeah.
Hashem is like our friend too. He's like
exactly. And the Kedushas Levi says like Mishalach Manis Ish Re'eu is between God and us. Ish and Re'eu. There's like God and there's friend. We're His friend. That's the Mishalach Manos. Yeah, exactly. Kedushas Levi says, as you said, Judah.
I knew the Kedushas Levi personally.
Yeah.
Personally, he was a great guy. He's a great friend. He's a good friend of mine.
He's a good friend.
Very good friend of mine.
Okay, so just so to recap, we saw this idea of death and loneliness coming from Haman, and we fixed that through Shalach Manos. We're giving each other life. So I saw this crazy Torah from Lev Le'eger, also, which is like I think a very funky way of looking at the Torah. Okay, and Shalach Manos. It's a different angle of Shalach Manos, but it's very much related. I don't know how to connect it. We'll connect it later. It doesn't matter. But I think it's like an awesome way of looking at the Torah. So he says, and it's very quick. Umishalach manos ish le'eu in ha mitzvah shel mishalach manos. What is mishalach manos? So we know that Purim is the time that we accepted the Torah, right? Like in its fullest way possible. Okay. Ikar hakol kol Torah. What is the whole point of the Torah? What is the whole concept of the Torah? Is Avas Yisrael. Is Jews loving each other. Kamash Amar Zav After Rech it says after Zeh Klal Gadol Torah. That's the general principle of the Torah. Is After Rech Kamocha. Lashon Klal. What is Klal? Shezeh Kol Torah. It encompasses the entire Torah. Is Avas Yisrael. Okay. Is Zeh and in Avas Yisrael the Zeh Nichla Chumas Asalot Haseh. In loving another Jew and loving your friends, that encompasses all the mitzvahs aseh, all the mitzvahs lo taseh. Ki gam al mitzvahs lo taseh matzim l'klosh unzeh ma dalach l'sayin l'chavi lo savin zeh klal gal l'b'torah zeh klal kol Torah. You see the other way, that what you don't do to your friend, what you don't want to do to your friend, don't want to yourself, don't do to your friends. So that's mitzvahs lo taseh. The haftarach kamocha is going on the mitzvahs aseh. The kasher kimu kilus Torah mechadash. So when we accept the Torah anew and in its complete fashion on Purim. Niftach lahem makor v'shoresh kloyas Torah the mitzvahs mishalach manos. So we got the embodiment of the complete Torah, of the full Torah, in mishalach manos. It's like we accepted the whole Torah. So what do we get from that? Shalach manos. That's what shalach manos is. The whole Torah, and we only zocha to it on Purim because we finally were one, and we had the full concept of Avos Yisrael. So, we should be zocha to these things, to destroy Haman by reconnecting with our friends and appreciating the friends that we have in a much more deeper way, not to take each other, God forbid, for granted. And in this way, we should be zocha to accept the Torah and to give each other life, and to fulfill the purpose of the Torah in general, which is this, is Avos Yisrael. Amen.
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 I don't know. We're not done. Oh yeah, this. Fine.
Chilling. this Hasidim, they have such trouble adjusting to the modern world because they have no skills. They have no like career social skills there. I've seen like presentations on like life on. I don't know why I'm being photographed, but like they've had documentaries on them on TV. It's such a struggle for these people.
Yeah. Thank God for Isaac Schoenfeld trying to.
It's big, even if they're not like they're probably not going to be religious the rest of their lives, but they're people who need help.
Okay. We just finished.
Oh, nothing. It's been in my head the whole time.